few minutes early, but that is cool. Yeah. Got to keep you on your toes. I mean, if you get into a habit or routine and, saying, well, it's exactly 12.00. Can't do that. So hopefully all of you that were on the other channel that I post on there are moseying on over here now. So how are you? It's Friday. Favor be to us all. I'll just say that for those who are still coming in. Hey, it's a great day. Favor be with us, upon us, and nothing missing, nothing broken. Be of service to others, and we are indeed prospering. If you're breathing, you're prospering. And a little bit of love and peace thrown in there. You know what I'm saying? Throw a dice, and we'll cover it with protection, and that's a perfect formula. Hey, Zigzagzilla, what's up, brother? Good to see you as well. Favor be to you, my friend. Kim, good to see you. Hey, Lauren, good to see you, my dear. How's the studying going? It's like me, we're studying. Gary, how are you doing? Got to get you on, brother, now that I've gotten myself. DC, how are you? Good to see you as well. Bonnie, I got the notice, so I switched it on. Well, thank you, YouTube. Appreciate it, and thank you for forwarding this. And if you're in the room, I'll stop by and hit the like button, because it's tied into that whole matrix thing and whatever, but it helps. So Star Ruby, how are you? Good to see you. Chloe, much love. Michelle, how are you? Nighttime over there, isn't it? I believe so. Monkey Experience, how are you? Experiment, I got you on that one. Snake Jones, right on, right on. What else happening? World is, that's for sure. I think I read today is International Occult Day. Party. So well, we study the occult here. Actually, everybody does. It's just that so few are aware of what's really going on. I mean, most people like the occult. I ain't going to do that. Well, yeah, you are, just get used to it. That's all I got to say. Melissa, good to see you. So what else is happening? Just reading my notes. Shifting. It's amazing how these waves, we're fully immersed into them. And it's like it's the troughs and the highs are, it's not like this, where you can get your sea legs. It's like this, got to take the big steps. Ruby, how are you, my dear? Good to see you. So good to see you as well. Going back to New Mexico in a few. Gary, you got a tale I'd like to hear, that's for sure. William, what's up? Think agape love, always and forever. Indeed. Go, good to see you as well. So, I'm just hanging out here until everyone noses on over and, said, oh, he's there. Cold here. I think it's cold everywhere. I don't know. At least in North America, it seems like I remember in the 70s, the snows that Buffalo, New York got, that whole lake effect snowband area there. Well, it looks like it's picking back up. 4 feet of snow. I like snow, but man, brother, woof, cup runneth over type of thing. It's like, hey, yeah. Jargo, how are you? Good to see you. Lori as well. The Soul Tribe is here, and donuts are for everybody. Go ahead and everyone. Rennie, donuts for you and everybody else. Trina, everyone. And so good to be here. The thing about it's interesting as, we're quickly coming up to the end of this year. 6 weeks from this Sunday, this year is gone. And 6 weeks is now like 6 days. I mean, days are becoming almost like hours. Hours are like minutes, and minutes are nanoseconds. So it's time is a moving. Hey, Troy, good to see you. Gilbert, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Jackie, hello. Carol, Stephen, good to see you as well. Lost in Space, what's up? So, yeah, 6 weeks. And it's always interesting to do a perspective, who was around us when we started the beginning of the year, who's still going to be here. There's a core group in this group that's just, they're hardcore. I mean, they've been here from almost literally the first day I came on. So what a robust group. Inquisitive group indeed. And that's what we do here best. We ask the questions. It's interesting. I get some of the most, I would say, interesting emails. It keeps me balanced in understanding that there's a lot of perspectives, a lot of different points of view, and some points of view are more clustered than others. And when you see clusters where the individual begins to migrate to other collective thoughts, growth takes place. And being exposed to different points of view it's cool. I mean, in the end, it's really where you want to be at. Otherwise, you're just a puppet following someone else's words, someone else's ideas. I meditate on that a lot, that are my thoughts that original? I mean, do they really have originality to it? It becomes difficult to say yes when you think, well, Tuesday, the world, they say, crossed over. There are 8 billion human beings, well, bipedals on the planet. So does 8 billion people have original ideas? Or are ideas somehow fed to us? It says that there is a delay between what we think and then what manifests in our brains. It is said that the vision that we see the world is inverted, and on top of that, it's not the complete picture. Our brains don't work that way. It'd be too much for it to comprehend. And a lot of what we see is space that our brains fill in to fit us into reality. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Hey, Doug, good to see you. Thank you, buddy. I saw you another one. Brian, good to see you as well. Who else is in here that I just saw? Well, I'll say Elderberry, how are you doing? Snake Jones, Susie Q, good to see you. Hey, I love that. It's a rhyme every time. Please send love to our brother Steve Clark. He's attending his granddaughter's funeral today. Well, Steve, we just send you thoughts of peace, and we send thoughts of well wishes to your granddaughter. She is on her journey, and we just wish her well with favor, and we rejoice in her life energy. Snowy, my concepts were original till I found out that they were thousands of years old, maybe tens of thousands. Interesting you bring that up. I love this group. It's odd. Odin, good to see you as well, my friend. Carol, good to see you. Queen of Swords, how you doing? Yeah, hit the like button, man. Be kind. Show me a little love. I don't monetize this channel. We got enough commercials. So, show me the love by hitting the like button. There we go. I'll just say that. Okay. But getting back to, you're welcome, Chloe, dear. This whole thing about Are our thoughts original? That's weird, because the older you get, you collect more thoughts, and you begin to go, okay, and part of my initiation, over the decades was the thing: there's nothing new under the sun that's not been known to man before. That which was shall yet be again. Sounds like a washing machine to me. Like it's in a cycle, So is it possible that somewhere in the far distant past, there was an exact room like this, exact same conditions, exactly the same set all around me, and I am speaking of having a thought, is my thoughts original thoughts, never realizing that there was probably an earlier point where we may have been. It gets really into the weird stuff. Preliminal Spark, how are you doing? Good to see you. So are your thoughts original? Are you typing on the board going, this is an original thought? No. It's just, I guess, your perspective. So International Occult Day. Occult means hidden. So I thought I'd just get right into the PDFs. Got the hello, Scott. How you doing? Haven't seen you in Lucifer's wheel. Well, if Lucifer means phosphorus, means light, yeah. There's another thing, So growing up, it took years to break that whole paradigm shift. That Lucifer, very little written, hardly anything at all in the Bible is written about Lucifer. The only one reference we have is by Jerome, and we know that he did that himself. He didn't have any, hey, Jerome, this is God. Everyone is for, no, he put that in himself. And as a result of that one word that didn't exist, it has created an egregore of such proportion, an egregore that is perceived with ignorance by the very species that created it. Very few know who or what the purpose of Lucifer really is. There's not that much written about it, folks. That's just the truth. There isn't that much written about it. Why? Because it didn't exist in the first century. There was no Lucifer. Jesus didn't know any Lucifer. You see Jesus going, who the hell are they talking about? Lucifer? Bob Newhart. I am a fan of Bob Newhart. He, I took theater in school and loved theater. Actually did some community theater. But I always like setting up these scenarios in my brain, my mind, where, the main character is the focal point of having this conversation. And it's always funny for me because I've set this comedy routine where, Jesus is up there and sitting back, having some wine and, and just digging the tunes, and, comes in and he's confronted by his devotees by their fear of Lucifer. Will he protect them and, set angels around them? And here's Jesus, cool cat that he is. Listen, that whole area brought hash. The hash is old, man. Old. They were smoking the ganja way back then. In fact, I got a book. I did a thing on it. The magic mushroom and the cross. But so here's Jesus going, so y'all pretty uptight, man, about who? Lucifer. What? Tell me about this cat. Where'd he come from? What is he bringing in his gang? Who is he? And, and of course they start telling him, and he's going, no, never knew anyone like that. Anyway, just how people don't realize the same when we speak of Jesus, which is a consciousness, exactly what it is. It's a living entity in the energy of the consciousness of what that consciousness is about. Unity, unifying, respect, being humbled. Those are all great attributes. Regrettably, our species lacks a lot of that. So, but anyway, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Exactly, Bill. Exactly. Yeah. And, so anyway, and slept like a baby last night, It's wonderful. I know Kent and Tammy said, well, we're kind of concerned, don't be, it's all right. How I have viewed life is, it's odd because us gods, we hate being bored and we love games. We as gods, and we are gods, love games. It's what we exist for. Otherwise, we would face the slow death called boredom. And as gods, we will do anything to not ever be in boredom land. I mean, that's where you go to cease to exist. That sucks. Yeah. Suddenly had that scene of Beetlejuice, as they're walking down the hall, and well, what's that room? That's the room of lost souls. You're going, okay, yeah, get me the hell out of here, would you please? Anyway, crazy stuff. But we love games, and in life, we manifest that which we think. Greetings, Isby. What's happening, brother? New Yoda, good to see you. Carl Young, good to see you. We are gods, and women created us. I've gotten over that debate as to who or what created us. I'm grateful that I am. I give thanks to that which created my consciousness. And I have found that there is a simplicity of serenity in that. And there appears to be a mutual respect both ways. Because I don't know if a consciousness would want to have a number one worshipers. Why? I mean, that's the epitome of an egotist, a narcissist. I mean, and they're crazy sons of bitches. But, I think a consciousness would, and this is just my point of view, would revel in the elation of seeing other consciousnesses coming into existence. I believe that there are new consciousnesses coming into existence all the time. It makes the journey quite, because I don't believe, there's a thought that, when everything came into existence, so did we. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Everyone's got her point of view on that. I think we got bored. Yeah. Bonnie says, I heard a story that God discovered himself and like a kid with a new toy wants to share it. But why does it have to be a he, Bonnie? Because, that, again, and I understand it's almost automatic. Today out in the straight world, when they say God, they immediately think of some white dude with a white beard sitting on a throne. That's God. Okay, well, where the hell did you get that at? And who wants to sit on a white cloud? You know what Lilith said? Lilith said that this incomplete being hides in a cloud because of his own, I don't know if shame is the word. I believe in his incompleteness. And so the shroud of the cloud, the mist that's and of course that is in turn reinterpreted that, well, only the holy can get to that Shekinah glory. Yeah. We can just smoke some good hash. Hey, I mean, there's a reason why they did that. Isn't it the story of Noah and his sin was that, he got drunk on honey wine. And then his daughters had, relations of an incestuous nature. I said it yesterday. It's true. The way you look at it, it's something just ain't right there. That's just what I'm saying. Something ain't right there. But it was always sex and booze. The reason why they call it spirits. Think about it. And isn't it odd that of the plant, the cannabis plant, the hemp plant, or the peyote, or, any other sundry natural plants, they're never associated with the word spirit. Could be a thesis in this one, folks. Didn't Noah scare his parents being born white and shiny? Actually, yeah, they said, depending on which book you read, that he also had a horn. He literally was luminous. Holy crap, does that make Noah Satan? I mean, Lucifer, the shining one? So weird. So weird. So I got some books. We're just going to have a little fun here. Noah looked like a off-world being. Well, the thing about it is, if his mama gave birth to him and his daddy said, "Hey, listen, I didn't have anything to do with this." That's exactly what Lamech said. No way. No way I produced that. That didn't come out of me. That came out of you, woman. And so who is the culprit here? Who's the sperm donor in this equation? Yeah, I saw that Blazing River. Yeah. Good to see that they're finally getting up in the times. Hey, Divine Empress, what's up? But I never inhaled Bill Clinton. Exactly. I love that. Anyway, getting back to that Noah thing. So here's Mama. She's having coitus, I mean, with someone. So what you know about Eve, Ishtar hybrid using the shaft text that transforms. You see, there is so many different variants on these figures that there's really no evidence they existed. But we love the stories. So Bonnie says, you got some splaining to do. Isn't that the truth? I thought Lot's daughters got him drunk and had their way with him. I don't know, believe Noah's daughters did anything. Noah got drunk by himself. Well, the story is, if you read it, Lucky, is no, it was Noah. He got drunk on honey wine. It's right there in the book of Genesis. So we move on. So we were talking about yesterday Cain. And, in my library, there are some great books that I have on the whole story of Cain. It's interesting because, again, and I'll just try to bring it in so you can see the horn. And of course, the horn represents wisdom. It said that Moses also had a horn, which is a sign of, How you get the horn? Well, I don't know. Seems to be there's a lot of paths, but the children of Cain. And so this one here takes it from the perspective of modern day witchcraft. Witchcraft is alive and well, probably more robust. Before the mind virus entered in, which is called modern day Christianity, we could say that the occult thrived everywhere. Every community had its beliefs, had its gods, had its rituals. Most communities all had shaman, witches, healers, alchemists. These were respected elders of the community. Apprentices would start very young in life and spend decades in being properly trained into the occult. You can call it a number thing, the craft. It has its foundation in our complete history. And the very story of Cain is one of great controversy. If you look at Bible schools that I know of, Cain and Abel was a problem. The teachers had a problem with it because in one hand, it's used to show what the fall did to man, murder. But we know that man wasn't the first to commit murder. It was actually done by the very being that created man. But the story goes well when you say that, Cain and Abel were brothers, and Cain killed his brother Abel because, it works well into the guilt thing and the whole trip that brings in. The problem becomes where it also is stated that Cain is not in the line of Adam's seed, Adam's bloodline, which clearly indicate that, well, if you want to go back to that legend, that myth, that story, that there was a hermaphrodite that was created and then was split. And because that was not what happened, as we said, with the previous race. But in any case, so Eve, who was a clone to a degree of Adam, she wasn't necessarily created in the same fashion. We will another discussion another time. But and depending on how you read this, what material you read, something happened. Now, the word is used to express that what happened to Eve was that the serpent beguiled her. Beguiled, if you do the etymology on that, means to be seduced. Totally. Mentally, spiritually, sexually, physically. So if the serpent had relations with Eve, this new creature, then bloodlines are now contaminated because you're introducing two separate, not variants, but then again, we don't know what the serpent, what their bloodline is really like. But going on with the story, because it's a very interesting story. You look at mankind today, we're messed up, man. I mean, we can be in our little enclaves here and get respite from the insanity of what our species is doing. We're more divided as a species than we ever have been. I don't see how you get unity out of that, because unity is fought. Because unity becomes inclusivity. Well, you can be a part of our clan or, our whatever, but we ain't going to let others in. Well, we ain't got unity anymore. Alexander the Great was probably the last great unifier that I know of. He conquered, people say the known world. That is not true, but the conquest that he did was remarkable, all before the age of 33. I mean, yeah. Had to have a hell of a lot of wisdom, didn't he? But he found the answer. You can keep your belief systems. Hey, listen, we'll support it, we'll uphold it, but you got to understand that we're inclusive of all beliefs. Well, that becomes a real challenge. I remember when I read, again, in the book of Acts, when Paul was in Ephesus, which you can still go there today and see those ruins. And it was always interesting because he commented in the amphitheater that he said, as I was walking the promenade, I saw all these busts, statues of all the different gods and goddesses. Well, that alone tells you that if you have a promenade where there are these busts, these statues that give honor and recognition to the god and goddesses. And Paul said, and it's always in those interesting, he said, I saw one that said, this is to the unseen, unknown God. And I'm sure probably goddess was probably in there. And he says, that's the guy that I serve right there. I serve this unseen, unknown God. Well, that just brings up a whole issue. So now, getting back, he said, well, how does this have to do with Cain and Abel? Well, it has everything to do with it, because here's the whole issue that, witchcraft today is been unfortunately commercialized. It's a natural pull, and, the merchandise machine and Hollywood, they've capitalized on it. Fortunately, with a lot of the productions through Amazon Prime and their production unit and Netflix and HBO and the others, there is the opportunity now to truly express some knowledge, some true occultism in the theme of these shows, which quite interesting because they begin to connect. So the clan of Tubal-Cain is the one that I have always found interesting. It said, by the way, I like this. Thus the children of Cain became the inheritors of the elder worship, the keepers of the wisdom of the elder gods, and the true custodians of secret knowledge. In the book, The Secret Bloodline of the Serpent, it's very clear that there are those of us that have unique markers in our blood, in our gene makeup, that indeed can be traced way back. And this is a great book, by the way, if you'd liked it. I wanted to say this. So if we look at witches, in this case, they're looking at it from a Wicca perspective. Witches do not see spirit and matter as separate entities. They worship nature in stream and stone, plants and people. Witches are intensely aware of unseen natural energies, which they make use mostly to help and heal. The trees that we have on our property, powerful. I have apparently been one of very few that have ever actually acknowledged their presence. Anyway, you go back, and the Welsh witches were divided into three main classes. You had the black witches, male and female. Yeah, us dudes, we are witches, who traded their souls in exchange for magical powers, using them for evil and cursing. Quick to take umbrage, they were liberal with their use of curses. Can I just make a comment here? Just last week, who did we see started this whole cursing thing? Yeah, that God Yahweh. So by that definition, Yahweh, the Elohim, because they curse. And if you want to see what the curses look like, go to the book of Deuteronomy. Holy crap. Every freaking thing is cursed. Okay. So keep that in your notes. The second one is the white witches, who used their powers for the lifting of curses and healing. Now, we haven't really talked about that, but I believe that there are many of us in this group that have that particular attribute of actually breaking curses. If you've broken a curse over your life, you're the one I'm talking to. And if you were able to do that over your life, you have tremendous power to do the same. In fact, you're very much feared and respected in the ethereal realm. You can break curses. And I just noticed that my camera went boop, boop, boop. Well, that was weird. Well, we'll continue on. So the white witches, they removed curses and healing. They sold love potions, foretold the future, and were widely consulted by the gentry of the times as well as ordinary folks. In other words, the rich people, the kings and the lords and what have you. They could, when aroused to extreme anger, curse people. The third type were also practicing white witches, always male and called a wizard or wise man, because witch means wise woman. He could also cure diseases and lift curses, and usually traveled through the country selling his magical powers. In addition to these three types of witches, there were men who could exorcise spirits by means of the cross and the Trinity and the passage from the New Testament. They were classed as wise men and conjurers, but never referred to as witches, and were many times more successful at exorcising spirits than the clergy. Well, this just brings up this whole idea then, number one, that there was something that changed there at the first century, because it brought in a whole new class of energy, spirit beings, entities, however you want to define it. And the knowledge exploded. And then came the war. The war was the church, because the church realized very quickly that they were up against something that was more powerful than themselves. They were bringing in a new submissive doctrine that had a whole list of do's and don'ts. And if you didn't accept it, you were most likely murdered, executed. If you were a woman, you were most likely raped repeatedly to the point where you made a confession, and then they killed you anyway. Loving religion, you got to love it. And there is some that say that those of us in the occult, that there is this debt, this cosmic debt that, well, it demands to be reconciled. And then you read about this, and you go back into the story of how all of this came about. And what it really comes back to, and if you want the book, I'll be more than happy to send it to you. It's a great read, is in fact, the knowledge is for the most cases that has been passed down through the clans, through the bloodlines, is extremely powerful because it is truth. And no one likes that. Now, I'm going to move on here. I had one part highlighted in here. I like this one. It says, in her book, Dr. Margaret Alice Murray, who wrote the book, The Witch Cult in Western Europe, she put forward her controversial theory that the descriptions of the practices found in accounts of the witch trials actually represented the beliefs and rituals of an organized pan-European fertility cult surviving from prehistoric times. Wow. She claimed that the stories of witches worshiping the devil were not evidence of a demonic manifestation, as the witch hunters claim, but obedience given to the male chief witch of a coven dressed up in an animal mask and skins to represent a pagan horned god. In this respect, she was partly right. However, Dr. Murray also believed that medieval witchcraft was the surviving remnant of a pre-Christian cult that had been demonized by the church and persecuted as heresy. She claimed it existed as an organized universal belief system all over Europe. Although modern academics working in the field of witchcraft history no longer accept Dr. Mary's theories, her ideas heavily influenced modern Wicca, and they still have their devoted followers among some of the neo-pagan witches. The point here is that before there was ever anything called a Christian, isn't it odd? If this Jesus cat existed, wouldn't he have come up with the name? Hey, John. Hey, Luke, Mark, just call yourself Christians, man. I mean, it'll save people. They didn't do that. But anyway, you have to read the story of how that came about. So we get into it, and they get into the bloodlines about how this knowledge was passed down, and the pre-neo-pagans. I like that. Again, we were all classified into one group. You were a pagan. If you didn't believe in this other blood cult called the Abrahamic Covenant, you were then branded as the bad guy. Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of debate as to how the kings got all swindled into this thing. And, you know, what a mess. We're still living with the train wreck of those actions that took place some 1,600 years ago. As I'm trying to skim down here, I'm trying to get to a point, and it's like, man, it's like, geez. Y'all just talk amongst yourself. By the way, the diagrams in this book are really quite interesting. There's some of the best symbols that I have seen out of real practicing witchcraft. Spells that you can do and have great results with. Yeah. You know, and a spell doesn't need to always bring wealth or money, but it aids quite a bit in that area. This could just, as he keeps going, like, come on. I'm going to have to move on to my other book. I'm sorry. I thought it was closer to this. So the clan of Tubal-Cain is interesting, or they were also called the Royal Windsor Coven, as it has been sometimes been called in the name of the traditional witchcraft group founded by the late Robert Cochrane. Interesting, 1931, 1966. So this is pretty recent. In the early 1960s, he was one of the most fascinating, enigmatic, and controversial figures of the modern craft revival. He wrote no books and only a handful of articles in obscure magazines. Most of what we know about Cochrane's beliefs and practices come from the series of letters written to several correspondents and the personal recollections of those he worked with. Over 40 years after his premature death, debate still rages as to whether he was a genuine, get this, hereditary witch, as he claimed, or a poser who invented his own tradition. Isn't that what Paul did? I mean, seriously. So this is really cool. I won't get any more into this. Let me come over here for a second and let me do that and then do that. There we are. We're back. So cool book. Lot of knowledge there. It's for me, I find it extremely fascinating. Just learning this. Now I'm pulling up the next one up here. As he goes over there, let's hit that, please. There we go. All right. So this then brings us into the next part. We delved in this book just a little bit. We'll get into it more because this one is pretty cool in itself. Many of you requested this, and I think I got it out to most of you that I did. If I didn't, write me again. So this is the secret history of the reptilians. The pervasive presence of the serpent in human history, religion, and alien mythos. Now, we could get into this one in the deep aspect of it because there's so much about even our physical aspects that certainly represent that we have reptilian genes in us. There's still the genetic throwback of humans that are born with tails. Our brain stems. I mean, I have maps over here, all reptilian. Reptilian, it's interesting, the caucus of the fact that it's two serpents coiled on a staff that brings healing, brings wisdom. This is another good one. If you want it, it shows you how I think they've had to put it in there because they knew eventually, I guess, that we would eventually figure out genetics. How are they going to explain that? So if you have a story like Adam and Eve, and then you have this serpent who is the wisest of all the beasts of the field, that's weird. So what are they defining wisdom at? And the fact that it apparently was bipedal, apparently very beautiful, and apparently was very colorful, had the ability to speak, whether it was telepathically or was it vocally, they never really say. We just naturally assume that, if it says God said, that, someone up there was saying, I said. Don't work that way. But if you want it, this is cool because as I'm looking at my time, then this leads into this other one, then the hidden rulers through the ages. I think in my journey so far into the occult philosophy and study is it merely added to an understanding that I had previously. I always knew that there was this other realm because that's the realm everyone goes to. In my life, I found that it was complex. And apparently, as evidence would continue to show, There's a battle still happening. Now, whether it's for the battle of our souls or not, I don't think that at all. Think about the narrowness of that aspect. There's over supposedly 100 trillion of these angels and demons that have been produced, created. Well, let's just 100 trillion. Now, if you have 100 trillion angels and demons, and if we just use Tuesday as our benchmark number of 8 billion, well, that means for every human being, how many tens of millions of spirits would be looking to feast off of you, influence you, change you? I mean, think about it. We are nothing more than feeding stock, if that's the case. See, I think there's another aspect of it, is that there's those humans who are saying, fuck that idea. I'm tired of seeing death. I'm tired of seeing the hate of the world, all under the God of someone saying, God bless you. Don't curse me like that. I don't know what God you're talking of. And if we define the word blessed, it means to be less. Now, if you want to bliss me, I'll be more than happy for that. But what if it has been that the fact that they fear us? I mean, it appears that we can kick their ass just by thought. So these archons, I always found Paul, who is such a son of a bitch, because he's a coward. He took and made a religion out of occult knowledge. And then they did the whole blending, and that's not for here or there, but and it's always portrayed that we're the weak ones. We're the fallen ones. No, it may be just simply is that we were a species that was captured. We're the prize of whatever the hell this is around us that does everything it can to suppress us, divide us, trick us, keep us ignorant, keep us fighting amongst ourselves, always in division. I mean, think about it. So another good one, if you want to catch it out, it's there as well. And as I get into this is an interesting, it's kind of like reading a play, a script. This is called The Children of Fire. It's a role-playing game. And it's really interesting of, like Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, role-playing is a powerful learning tool. I did it when I taught sales. Part of the 3-day course that I taught in responsive selling dealt with a lot of role-playing. And it teaches you a lot. So if you're interested in this, let's just say it says, thank you for coming to the Children of Fire. We have done our best to provide you, the reader, with a comprehensive and easily navigatable body of information. It is a role-playing game that allows players to take on the persona of an angel. These characters will interact with other celestials in heaven and with the children of clay, humans on earth. Now, I read this, and folks, somebody has some information that they're getting out in such a clever way. The game crosses many genres and can accommodate many playing styles. So here is the deal. The children of, it's an ever developing game. It's a living document. And I just thought, wouldn't it be interesting to do a show where we have 4 or 5 people, maybe 6, and we adapt this game for an hour or maybe a 2-hour show where each person comes in with their personification of what angel they're representing. And then we go by the framework of this. It says the world section gives you all the basics of the game settings. It will take the reader from the origin of the children of fire through an examination of heavenly society. Now, isn't it interesting? We never hear anything about these societies that exist on the other side. I wonder sometimes if the lost souls or that we find here, did they say, I don't want that. I don't want a part of that. I don't know. There's something here. So the author started the creation of Children of Fire with one precept in mind: let the research dictate the course of the game, not the other way around. It says too many times we start a project having already determined its outcome. We are not open to the wondrous possibilities that present themselves. This is not the case with Children of Fire. The tone of this game was entirely derived from what the research suggested. Whoa. Let's see. The fallacy of the modern angel. Readers may notice a striking difference between the angels depicted in this game and what we normally think of. It must be understood that most of our ideas of these celestial creatures come from movies and television. The Hollywood angel is a near perfect being who roams the earth doing good for people. They are not flawed creatures at war with themselves. See, isn't that interesting? Right there alone, here's a boom into that reality. So if an angel's in a battle, then that means they're divided, they're in a civil war. How can you be perfect killing? That's my other problem with Gabriel. Michael, is that Gabriel, in a matter of a couple of hours, it was recorded, murdered 180,000 men, their cattle, their animals. Now, what type of creature can go and do that much carnage? Yeah. In many cases, they are depicted as saintly humans who have died and returned as these winged emanations. Unfortunately, the research does not bear this portrayal out. Angels are a separate breed from man. They were created long before the inception of the children of clay. The departed souls do not return as angels. Additionally, angels have never till this modern century been seen as flawless pictures of virtue and grace. Rather, they have been viewed with awe, fear, and a bit of distrust. When Constantine formed, the Council of Nicene, it was interesting, and it's documented. It was debated as to, were they going to give angels wings, or were they going to make them as they were depicted? And apparently it was 3 votes that changed the whole setting to angels having wings. Anyway, and I see I am running out of time. But if any of you are interested in this, let me know. I think this could be very creative for this group, and it would be really interesting as to what we would actually come up with. And probably on Monday, I'll may get more into this and see if by letting us all look into this as to what is happening here. Yeah. I like this where he says, they are portrayed as peaceful, perfect beings of goodness and virtue. They are unflawed, unblemished. This is a lie. Angels are not so simply understood. The children of fire are complex creatures composed of countless contradictions and ambiguities. It is difficult for our minds to grasp the true concept of the children of fire. Their form and function are mysterious and unique. They are not of the material world, so you need not to follow physical laws. There is no other way to describe them but to endow them with physical traits and abilities. And I'll stop right there. So I think that this could be one of those really fun group participations. I mean, think about it. I'm just reading in the chat room. So there you go. It's what keeps us creative, folks. I mean, I don't know what you do to keep yourself stimulated intellectually, spiritually, how you keep your creativity high, but it's these kind of little exercises that really impact a lot of people. I mean, imagine us coming in as a group on a panel, and each of us have our own roles, but we have a setting in which will happen. Could be very interesting. All right. Grace, thank you. Well, I appreciate you too, Grace. Much love to you. So let me know. You're never too old, folks. You're not. Actually, I guess if we were to be very candid, you're playing a role right now, a role of a lifetime. How's it going for you? Has the script came out as you planned? It sounds fun. I played, Lucky says he's played D&D very well, and I had fun and was invited to many parties. I think this could be a whole new, because we're going to take knowledge that was gathered through research as to what these angelics really are. Got a sense that there's some really badasses. I mean, I never could see them as the fat babies with wings, playing a harp on a marshmallow pillow. I just, don't see it that way. Chess, it's very interesting. Nunu says about chess, isn't chess the same way? When I played chess, and it's always, the stratagem, I got my army there. Still painting it, Wayne. There you go. Glad to hear that. Well, Scully, thank you. Much love to you, my dear. All right. Have yourself a great, strong ending of the week. If they're giving it to you for 2 days, then use it to your advantage. Get stronger with it. That's what I say. Strong end, indeed. See you on Prosperity Monday, everybody. And if you want the Children of Fire, those of you who might consider, are there any thespians in the group? And if you know what a thespian is, then let me know. I think this could be a fantastic, who knows what it could turn into. All right. We will see you on Monday. Much love to you. Thank you, moderators. Thank you for hitting the like button, and